Right, this is a quick video response to this cashless Catholic priest called William Richardson. He's done on the Northwest Nationalist site. Some of he's trying to deny that millions of people were killed by the Nazis in concentration camps. His first point, that the 6 million Jews weren't gassed in concentration camps. Well, everybody knows that. Nobody has said that most of the people who died in concentration camps were gassed. Of course they weren't. Gassing only became a large way of killing the people in concentration camps, mainly Jews, in 1943. Most people in concentration camps died from overwork, starvation, cold and disease. We know that. Nobody's ever said the 6 million were gassed. Of course they weren't. And even the 6 million, it could have been 4 million, it could have been 8 million. They don't know how many people because accurate records weren't kept. They also included homosexuals, labour leaders, Christians, and anybody else the Nazis didn't like. The idea that to disprove the fact that Nazis murdered people, you only have to disprove that 6 million people were gassed is stupid. The Nazis killed people in many, many different ways, far different than just gassing them. The gas chambers killed a lot of people, most of whom were Jews, but certainly not the majority. The second point he makes is that the gas chambers couldn't have existed because simply cyanide stays round on the clothes. Well, they weren't clothed. These gas chambers were made to look like bathhouses, showers, and the people stripped off before they were pushed in, so they were naked. Also, the people who took the bodies out weren't German guards. They were prisoners, like the people being gassed, who did the job because they were scared, if I don't do it, the Nazis will shoot me and somebody else will do it. Cowardice, yes, but with your hand on your heart, can anybody watching this video really say they wouldn't have done the same thing? I can't. I probably would have done the same thing. So, of course they were gassed. And did the Nazis care about contamination? And no, of course they didn't. The next point he raises, and I've got it down here, is the fact that you need large towers to get the gas away, which is ridiculous. He said the gas would drop, so why would a chimney take it away? The only reason a gas rises up the chimney is it's lighter than air. Well, he's already said that the gas is heavier than air because it drops to the ground, so a large chimney wouldn't have any response. The gas wouldn't flow up the chimney, would it? Because it's heavier than air. So that's ridiculous. They did gas people, but the way they did it is they simply opened the doors, and they didn't use the gas chambers when the wind was blowing in the wrong direction, and that's been recorded. And a lot of the Nazis were very concerned that they couldn't use the gas chambers on enough days. The other point he brings in is he says, yes, 200,000 to 300,000 Jews were killed in the concentration camps, as if that didn't matter. That is mass murder. That is mass murder on a terrible scale. Even if it was only 200 to 300,000, it would still make the Nazis some of the most terrible people in history. They're absolutely terrible. But the real figure the Nazis murdered isn't 200 or 300,000. It's not 4 million. It's not the accepted figure of 6 million. It's not even 8 million. It's nearer 25 million if you count the Russians they murdered, if you count the British soldiers they murdered, the American soldiers they murdered. All should be counted. The fact that they were Jews is irrelevant. The Nazis murdered people for their ideology. And whether you say, well, okay, they murdered Jews purely because it suited them. And remember, Hitler himself was a quarter Jewish. It was purely convenient for them to do that. They were a scapegoat. The Nazis would have got round to me in the end. Okay, it would have taken a hell of a lot longer than most other people, but they would have got round to me. The Nazis were a nasty group of people. To try and claim that they weren't murderers is ridiculous. And this guy, whose name's Richard Williamson, he's already been thrown out of the Catholic Church. Now let's be honest, to be thrown out of the Papist Church, for the Pope himself to think you're nutty, you've got to be totally crazy. Because the Papist Church believe All sorts of ridiculous stuff. They believe that a man walked on water, fed 5,000 people with a couple of loaves and fishes. They believe the most ridiculous things. I mean, totally ridiculous. So to be thrown out of that church by the Pope, you've got to be totally crazy, and this man obviously is. To use this man, who's some sort of justification for denying that the Nazis were a murdering set of bastards, is ridiculous. Now, that's 60 odd years ago over, and really it should have no relevance to a site of the British National Party today. However, it does, because it will be used to characterise the people in the party as lunatics. It will also be used by Griffin to characterise the drive for democracy, which this is linked up with, within the party, as cranks. We can't allow this to happen. It really is nonsense. Move on. Total and complete nonsense. We need to move on from this, and there's a lot more going on in the party and in the drive for democracy than a few lunatics, and they are lunatics, who deny that the Nazis murdered millions of people. Let's move on. That's all I've got to say, and I'll leave it at that. Okay then. Oh, by the way, the video that I'm responding to appeared on the Northwest Nationalist site this morning. That's the 23rd of January 2009. I'll put a link at the bottom. And that's about it. I'll cut this here, and we'll see how it goes. TTFN.